Actually, as you can see from this first slide, our first initial step or steps have been taken in April 2011, actually next year. Immediately after the first action that was taken in the Brussels structure, if I may say so, then we informed the then government in order that it will be very wise for us, to have start of the revision of the National Roma Program. At that time, and we still do have National Roma Program, which was adopted in 2003. I must tell you that at this moment, we didn't know that we are going to have a new strategy. We thought it would be only the revision of the current National Roma Program. But after the adoption of the United European Union framework for National Roma integration strategy, then we had a clear vision, we had a, so to say, clear guidance, and of course we decided to start working on this. July 15 last year was actually the real start. It was the initial meeting of relevant ministries, government offices, agencies, and during that meeting we informed them about the strategy, about the new initiatives, about our work and so on. So for most of them, I would say that it was relatively or completely new thing, and indeed we had some problems at the beginning, trying to transform their, how to say, scope of knowledge and so on, to start working on this new strategy. November the 15th, it was the meeting in the Croatian Parliament with a number of stakeholders. Actually, we wanted to have that meeting before, but unfortunately, it was sort of a delay, since we have been waiting some international organizations who promised to us that will be there at the meeting even 1 month before, but the delay was 1 month or maybe more, and that's why we had this meeting on November 15th. We had also a special meeting with international organizations present in Croatia, informing them on the plans, on our plans, and later I must say that we received support from international actors. For example, the delegation of the European Union or Commission in Croatia provided information on EU context. Also, the Decade Secretariat provided very valuable information on national strategies of EU member states. It was the period from December to last year and January this year. From UNDP, from Bratislava, Slovakia, we have been also provided preliminary results of household survey, which was really interesting and of course valid for our work, and we are really thankful for this. UNICEF was also part of this context with education, welfare, and so on. And finally, UNHCR with the status issues, of course, free legal aid, and so on. We had parliamentary election last December 2011, and after this election there was a change of a government. Now we have a new government, and it was the subsequent formation of not only new government, but along with this change, it was the redesign of governmental structures, some new ministries, some new names, and so on. And frankly speaking, we had some problems because we, let's say, lost 2 or 3 months waiting for this change in a number of ministries, agencies, and offices, and so on. But finally now everything is solved, and now we can go on further, and of course we can speed up our process. Very important, I would say, very important support was from the MTM, which was formalized in December last year. It was the project which helped us to organize several gatherings, workshops, and without this it will be certainly very, very problematic to boost the whole project on. We, of course, then started with elaboration of our Croatian National Roma Strategy, and the special part of elaboration of strategy was certainly dedicated to capacity building and for EU funds usage. Several meetings there were several meetings with stakeholders. There were contacts with local authorities, including Association of Municipalities, Roma civil society, which was included from the very beginning, central authorities, and during those meetings we tried to explain the context, and we put the special emphasis in explaining key points such as the EU context and, of course, current challenges within the EU as such, and, of course, EU framework requirements. Household survey preliminary results was certainly one of the important strategy elaboration, and for sure principles and roles, which we'll see on the next slide. We have currently followed the principles to adhere during the strategy developments, such as common values, usage of all available resources within respective state bodies, open process from the very beginning, participation of international organizations, civil society, public, and so on. It was certainly, and I will strengthen here, the full participation and partnership with Roma community. Then proactive involvement of regional and local authorities, especially in comparison with previous work, because you know it is somewhat difficult to work, and we know all working with regional and local authorities. Flexibility of the strategy and of the action plans, which will be elaborated, and we think this could be sort of a living mechanism, you know. Transparency in implementation of all parties involved, and we insisted on clear mandates and responsibilities between different states, bodies. Sometimes, of course, it can create problems and misunderstanding, but again, we wanted to, you know, to put it very, very firmly on this issue. Role of relevant bodies. There must be so-called in-the-house coordination, and we have tried to strengthen this part of the strategy with strategic planning, because every organization, every ministry, office, or agency have strategic planning, data collection, EU context, financing, and so on. Preparing the framework was a certain challenge, of course, with integration of other relevant EU and national strategies, legislation, programs, plans, etc. Especially it was very important to point out clear indicators and benchmarks. Then contribution to strategic analysis and development of the action plan. It was also involvement through contribution of the issues of monitoring, evaluation, and revision of the national Roma integration strategies, participation in the public consultation as a part of transparency, financial impact assessment, which is something that goes without saying, and commenting and eventually accepting the final draft, which is still ahead of us. I will say something more later on. Then again, further and clear message towards the state administrations, and the emphasis were on cooperation with Roma communities, Roma Minority Council, Roma NGOs, strengthening cooperation with regional and local authorities. It was one of the key issues. Data as precondition for situation analysis, monitoring, evaluation, reviewing national Roma integration strategies. And this is certainly the most problematic thing, I believe, in all countries, because it is not enough to say, let's say, the situation has improved. The problem is, as we heard this morning or before lunch, how much was improved? What are the numbers? And so on, percentage, and so on. Then we called sort of a mild incentive that we decided to join two reports, National Roma Program from 2003 and the Decade Action Plan from 2005. Both of them are compatible, but it will be replaced by a single report. We believe it will be much wider in scope and goals. There were 7 working groups, as you can see from the screen. Actually, before that, we decided to employ 4 independent facilitators, and we had a series of workshops in from January to March this year. And also there was an online consultation from March until June. So that is to say, we still have consultation until the end of June. There are 7 working groups, as you can see: status issues, anti-discrimination, legal aid, then inclusion into social and cultural life, health, education, employment and inclusion into economic life, welfare, housing and environment protection. I must tell you that all working groups have been consisted of a number of people, starting from Roma community, state administration, independent experts, international organizations, and so on. And where are we now? We are actually finalizing our draft strategy. As I told you, public consultations are still in the process. We had 4 regional discussions, and final discussion will be in Zagreb, the capital of Croatia, actually the end of this week, on Friday. And then we will close this discussion, because the discussion is still open through the website of our office. And after this, we will go to the usual procedure towards the ministries. We expect that government procedure will finish by the beginning of September, and hopefully it will go smoothly, although you never know with government structures, you know. The problem is the holidays. The holidays are coming, and I believe in all our countries, holidays are sacred things, you know, especially in southeastern Europe, and that's why there is a little bit worry, but I believe by the beginning of September that we will finish this. And then we will develop the action plan, which will start from the next year, 2013. Framework for each area in developing action plan will be general goal, specific goals, indicators, benchmarks, data sources, and preliminary list of measures and initiatives for the action plan. As regards the monitoring, evaluating, and revising, here we come to the most challenging part. Statistics and data will be certainly a very important one. And then indicators, clear reference to EU framework. Mechanisms for monitoring the implementation. EU framework mechanism, Commission for the monitoring of the implementation of the national Roma integration strategies, role of stakeholders, Deputy Prime Minister, Government Office for Human Rights and National Minorities, body involved in the implementation, Roma community, local and international organization. And finally, the last slide, our prevision for the future will be that evaluation will be mid-term in the mid of 2014, and external evaluation end of 2015. And of course there will be a revision, regular or possibly extraordinary, and of course primarily related to the action plan. And since Rob is watching at me, probably he wants me to finish soon. My last sentence will be that I invite all of course, interest in enlargement countries' government to start with elaboration of this national integration Roma strategy, since we are on the same path to the European Union. Thank you.